Hi everyone and welcome to this short hip opening flow. Today we'll be moving through some fun sequences so that we get our body moving and we lift our spirits a bit. So if you have any props that you'd like to use, like blocks or a blanket, feel free to use them. I just happen to not have any with me right now. And if vinyasas are not something you want to practice today, you can just skip right through them and we'll meet in downward facing dog for most of the time. We'll be starting a new sequence. So we'll go ahead and start to center for a few moments. So go ahead and take a comfortable seat and see if you can start to close through the eyes and stacking your shoulders over your hips and lengthening through the crown of your head. Relaxing the shoulders down and away from your ears. And noticing the breath. I'm slowly starting to deepen each inhale and exhale. Expanding through the side body and the low belly. And we'll go ahead and start to find some gentle movement. So starting with some neck circles, taking your right ear toward your right shoulder, and then tilting your head back so that you go to the opposite side, right ear toward the shoulder. And then tilting your head forward all the way, continuing a circle as you inhale, tilting back. Exhale to come all the way forward. And then switching directions. Staying with the breath and finding stillness when you're ready. Continuing to tune into your breath and using it as your guide for this practice today. We'll go ahead and start to gently open the eyes and meet in tabletop position, hands and knees. And so taking your hands directly under your shoulders, hands under your shoulders here, and knees right under your hips. We'll go ahead and take some cat-cows here. So letting the belly drop, but staying engaged as you open for cow. Exhale to draw the navel in, puffing up through the upper back for cat. Inhale into cow, opening through the heart. Exhaling into cat. And continuing that flow for a couple more breaths. And starting to find some fluidity in the spine. And with your next inhale, finding a neutral spine. We'll go ahead and start to find some mobility in the hips. So I like to keep the toes untucked here so that the whole shin is resting down on the mat. We're not putting too much weight on the knees this way. And so we go ahead and lift the right knee to hover, and then start to open the right knee out as much as you can go without the hips moving. And then starting to now let the hip open and take the foot back, take the whole leg back and straighten. Toes are pointing to the side of the room like half moon. And now turning the toes to point down and hips squaring. Exhale to bring the knee back to center. Inhale to lift the knee, lift the hip, extend the leg. Exhale to point the toes down and bring the knee in. We'll reverse that now. So inhale to straighten the leg back behind you and then turn the toes out, opening the hip. Inhale, bringing the knee towards your front body and then closing through the hips, squaring them. One more time, flowing back, opening the toes to the side, knee comes in and down. And then last time, extending the leg back, toes are pointing down, drawing the navel in here so we don't lose core engagement, and then taking the toes to the opposite side of your mat, crossing the midline and looking towards the left toes, making a C shape with your spine. Inhale to come back to center. Exhale to plant the foot all the way to the outside of your mat on the right side, aligning the foot with the knee. We'll go ahead and come off of the hands, bringing them to the hips. And when you're ready, inhale to lift the arms. Exhale, right arm comes to your thigh, and left arm reaches for a side bend here. I'm feeling a nice stretch in the lateral body. And breathing here. Inhale to come back into center, taking the hands down, finding tabletop position. We'll repeat that sequence on the other side. So inhale to hover the left knee off the mat and start to open it to the side of the room. Now let the hip open completely and extend the leg back. Flexing the toes here, and then turning the toes to face the floor and bringing the knee back in. Inhale to lift the knee, open the hip. Exhale to extend the leg back and turn the toes down. Bringing the knee back into center, we'll reverse that direction. Inhale to extend the leg, turning the toes out, and then bringing the knee in toward the chest and hovering it in the midline. Once again, inhale to extend the leg. Exhale to turn the toes, bend the leg. With the knee bent, coming back to center, and inhale to straighten the leg once more. From here, we'll exhale across the midline and take your foot down. Gazing toward that side, maybe tilting your hips a bit to the left to feel that nice stretch in the side body. Inhale to come back into center. Exhale to plant the foot all the way off the floor, on the floor. Inhale to lift the hands, bring them to the hips. Inhale, lengthen and lift. Exhale, left hand finds your thigh and right hand bends over towards the foot. Feeling a nice stretch here in the right side body. If you've been sitting for a long time, this is a great way to stretch the side body. Inhale, coming back to center, taking the hands down, stepping back to your tabletop position. From here, we'll bring the hands a little bit forward so that we can find downward facing dog. Tucking the toes, hovering the knees, and then lifting back towards your first downward dog, perhaps of the day. So pressing firmly through the index and thumb of each hand, and the fingertips really clawing into the mat to protect the wrists. The knees can stay as bent as they need to for now. Maybe you have tighter hamstrings and you need to give them a break. So the goal is to keep a long spine here. Maybe as your hamstrings open up more, you can straighten the legs a bit more, but don't worry about rushing through that process. And here maybe you pedal one foot and then the other. Breathing deeply. Tuning into the sensations of the body, the signals it's giving us today. Tuning into how the body's feeling, and maybe that way we can sense how we've been feeling. If our shoulders are tight, maybe we've been carrying a lot of stress in our shoulders. Or maybe if our legs feel extremely tight, maybe that means we've been sitting for a long time. Inhale, looking forward. Exhale, starting to step the feet towards the hands. Inhale to lift and lengthen, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale to fold, bending the knees here. Inhale to lift all the way up, reaching high. Exhale, bringing the hands down by your sides. Inhale to lift the arms. Exhale, folding Uttanasana. Inhale to lift and lengthen. Exhale to step back to plank. Taking the chaturanga if you wish. You can drop the knees here, hugging the elbows in and lowering the pelvis and heart. Untucking the toes, inhale into your extension. Exhale to tuck the toes and come back to downward facing dog. Inhale to lift the right leg up and back. Exhale to step it through to the outside of your hand. Lowering the back knee down, untucking the toes, finding Sirsasana or lizard pose. And feeling the sensations here. Maybe this is enough for you right here. Or if you wish to go deeper, you can take your arms on blocks or on the floor. Always keeping a nice front body open here rather than rounding through the upper back. And breathing here, noticing if you're clenching your jaw or your hands. And slowly lifting back up onto the hands if you're not already there. You can take a fun little twist here if you wish, taking the right hand on your thigh and coming onto the pinky toe side of your right foot, taking a little twist. And then planting the whole foot back down. Inhale to lift the right arm for a twisted lunge. And then we're going to tuck the toes and lift the back knee here. Breathing. And then when you exhale, taking the hand back down, but heel-toeing the foot to center between the two hands. Stepping back to downward facing dog. Option to take a vinyasa here if you wish. And then inhale to lift the left leg up and back. Exhale to step it to the outside of your left hand. Lowering the back foot, the back knee down. And you can either stay here or once again lower. Remembering to keep the spine long rather than rounding, and noticing where you might be holding tension. If you notice any critical inner self-talk, we all do it. Just maybe try and switch the channel, put a little pause to that voice, just for a few moments. Rising up onto the hands if you're not already there, an option to take that funky twist here. Returning to center, and inhale to lift the left arm up for a twist. Tucking the back toes and lifting the knee. Notice if your right shoulder is rounding in, start to open that out. Exhaling, bringing the hand down, and this time we'll step the right foot forward to the outer edge of your mat, Malasana. So if your heels come up for this pose, you can take a blanket under them or fold your mat. And if that's accessible, you can bring the hands to heart center, maybe the triceps, gently push the legs out. Puffing up open through the sternum here, nice and long spine. You can enjoy this or take a fun twist, opening through the right side first, right arm lifts. Exhale, maybe you switch sides here. Inhaling to open. Exhale to come to center. Both hands plant to the floor and lifting the hips here, heel-toeing the feet back toward each other. Exhale as you fold Uttanasana. Inhale to rise all the way up, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhaling, coming into mountain pose. I'll go ahead and switch over to the other side so you can hear me and see me better for the next sequence. So from here, inhaling, lifting the arms. Exhaling, folding over the legs. Inhale to lift and lengthen. Exhale to step back to plank or jump back to chaturanga. Inhale into upward facing dog or cobra. And exhaling downward facing dog. Inhale to lift the right leg up and back. Exhale to step it through between the hands. The left hand stays grounded as the right arm lifts for a twist once again. With your next exhale, bringing both hands to the inside of your right leg and moving to the back of your mat, left toes point out a little bit for Skandasana. So here, if you have some difficulty here, maybe you can come up with your forearm on your thigh. That's more accessible. Or if you have the space, you can come all the way down, bringing the right toes up. Maybe you find your twist here as well, opening through the right arm. Exhale to bring the hands down and walk to the middle of your mat. So now the toes will be parallel to each other, setting up for Prasarita Padottanasana. Grounding through all four corners of your feet, maybe shifting a little bit more weight forward towards the balls of the feet. And then inhale here. Exhale to fold. Three breaths here. Inhale to lift and lengthen. Exhale to move to the front of your mat. Your hands can come to the floor or on blocks. As we move into standing splits, the left leg reaches up. And you can open the hip here for this variation. You can even take a half bind, your right hand binding around your ankle, or maybe a full bind. Inhale once more. As you exhale, pointing the toes down to square the hips, draw the navel in, and as you bring the left foot down, make sure that you keep it up a little bit so that it hovers next to the right, engaging the core, and then release it, folding forward. Inhale to lift and lengthen. Exhale to fold. Inhale to rise all the way up. Exhaling, Tadasana. And we'll repeat that on the other side. When you're ready, inhale to lift the arms. Exhale, folding over your legs. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, stepping it back or jumping back to Chaturanga. Continuing to lower with your exhale, elbows drawing in. Inhale, upward dog or cobra. And exhale, downward facing dog. Inhaling to lift the left leg up and back. Exhale, stepping it through between your hands. The right arm stays where it is. The left arm reaches towards the ceiling or the sky for a twist. With your next exhale, bringing both hands to the inside and walking over to the back of your mat, turning the left toes out the right toes out slightly, and taking your variation of Skandasana here. Maybe you twist it open. As you exhale, bringing both hands to the floor and finding the middle of your mat. Both legs are straight, but this time we'll bring the heels in so the toes are pointing halfway out for Goddess pose. Inhale to lift. Exhale to stay in this open squat, engaging the navel toward the spine and lengthening the tailbone down. And bring the hands onto the thighs here, and then inhale to lengthen, exhale dropping one shoulder down, finding a twist. You'll feel your hand also pushing the leg out for a stretch here in the groin area as well. With your next inhale coming to center, exhale to drop the opposite shoulder down, opening the opposite leg. Inhaling to come back to center. Exhale, bringing both hands to the floor, front of your mat, or on blocks once again for standing splits. Right leg lifts. An optional bind here, half bind or full bind, depending on how your balance feels today. Unwinding from your bind, finding a place for your hands, closing the right hip, and then starting to bring the right foot down, but plugging the right leg bone into the socket so that you can hover the right foot next to the left. Hold and lower. Fold as you exhale. Inhale to lift and lengthen. Exhale to fold. Stepping back to downward facing dog or taking a vinyasa. And we'll start to wind down our practice here. So inhaling, bringing the right leg up and back. Exhale, letting it tap the right elbow. And then dropping the whole shin down for pigeon pose. Walking the back foot further back here so that you can lower the left thigh. And if you notice you're unbalanced or you're really high off of the ground, you can take a blanket or a pillow or anything you have at home right under your right glute. So drawing the navel in here, and inhale to lengthen through the crown of your head. Exhale, folding forward here. Maybe you choose blocks for this, for your forearms. And here flexing the right toes so that we're protecting the right knee. Sometimes I like to put a block on my third eye here as well so that there's a place to rest my head. If you don't have any, you can even take your fists one on top of the other and rest your head on top of them. Slowly starting to find some movement once again, coming up onto the hands if you're not already there. And tucking the back toes to lift the right leg and bring it back for three-legged dog. Maybe you open the hip here and enjoy some of that movement. Draw circles if you wish, and bringing it back down. Inhale to lift the left leg up. Exhale to tap the left elbow and lower the whole shin down, flexing your left foot and walking the back foot further back. Again, you may need to readjust and add some kind of support underneath your left glute. And when you're ready, inhale to lengthen here, draw the navel in toward the spine. Exhale, starting to fold forward to any level you wish. And slowly starting to lift back up, taking the hands under your shoulders. And you can either come back the way we did before, from downward to downward dog, or tilt over to the left side, the left buttock, and bring your right leg forward. Eventually we'll end up in this position, and we'll lower all the way onto our backs. Maybe you take a count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and let it relax. Bringing the knees into the chest here, Apanasana, and maybe drawing some circles to massage the spine, the low back. And then opening the knees wide, the soles of the feet pointing towards the sky as you take a hold of your outer edges of your feet for happy baby. If your tailbone is lifting, you can push into the back of your neck, and that can help you ground your tailbone. And here too, you can play around with straightening one leg and then the other. Finding any final movement that you'd like before we move into Savasana. And making our way there now, maybe adding any layers you wish to put on, like socks or a blanket on top of you. Letting the feet open out to either side, the hips to open. And taking up as much space as you need for this final relaxation pose. Unclenching your jaw. Letting the breath flow naturally. I will say goodbye to you guys before you finish Savasana so that you can enjoy it for as long as you'd like. If you'd like this class, I'd love to hear from you. And if you have any requests, feel free to share them in the comments. Until then, may you be happy, may you be healthy, and may you live with ease.